evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting for Farmington Board of Education for February 3rd, 2025, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Our agenda, and move on now to item 4, approval of the minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the January 27th, 2025 BOE regular meeting?
Motion. Second.
Any discussion? Any comments, revisions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Next on the agenda, item 5, consideration of the superintendent's report.
So Veronica will go over the professional appointments, resignations, retirements.
So you can see there's a list of the resignations. That is, retirements. Those are all the ones that we had gotten by the February 1 date. And the one correction I wanted to make, because I think there was a short discussion about this the other day, there is one teacher who's retiring in December, and it had previously said in June, but it's in December. And so this looks to be the total of the number of retirements this year.
Again, when it gets to this time of year, we see some names here that we all recognize. We're sorry to see them all go. We're all happy for them to reach the point in their careers where they can enjoy the fruits of their labor and retire and spend time with their family. But again, I see several teachers here that we've had personal experience with, and the loss of the institutional knowledge is always bittersweet for us. But congratulations to them. Okay, that's the shortest superintendent's report ever. And I'm not kidding. Okay, on to item 6, unfinished business. Approval of the updated policy regarding the field trips. Can I get a motion? Approve? Sorry, I should be more precise. I got a motion to approve the policy, second reading of policy 6153 and 6153A for field trips.
Motion. Second.
Any discussion? Any questions or comments? We had a pretty good discussion on it the other day. And we were all in agreement that to the extent we could get coach buses, that would be good. Yeah. But all that being said, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Budget impact, budget update, Dan, anything new since Saturday?
Not a whole lot new, so I think we're pretty up to date.
Okay. And then item C, continuation of our budget review. I'll turn this over to Kathy.
So there were a couple of questions that we wanted to answer. One was about excess cost. What would that mean to go to 70%? What would that mean if the state funded it fully? There was an update today from the governor's office saying that the governor did plan to put $40 million additional dollars into excess funds next year and the year after. And that's going to go through the budget process at the state level, but that's good news on the horizon. It just has to get through the approval process, just like we're getting through the budget approval process. In Farmington, they have to do the same at the state level. So Dan, I'll have you provide that.
Sure. So we did look at calculations if we adjusted the excess cost calculator, and if we were getting fully funded from the state of Connecticut at 100%, we would probably be in the I'd say low 3% in there. It's hard to give a full number on it because once again, when you're doing the excess cost calculator, there's variables, which is we don't know exactly how much, we're making an estimate of how much we think we're going to be applying for excess costs. And then, obviously here we're putting it in as 100%.
Right.
So, but it's that adjustment in there. So, but it would probably be, low 3s if it was fully funded.
70%?
Oh, 70%, it would be, I'd say low 4s.
That's the total budget line. You're like the total budget would drop to that, is what you're saying?
Yes,
The
correct.
total.
Yes.
So I guess the question I would have is, as we go through the process with the town, because we understand this is just the first step in the process. I would be very interested to have conversations with our colleagues at the town council side about, because again, we're budgeting at 55%. As to whether or not, as we go about putting together the overall budget, would they be willing to allow us to perhaps increase what we're budgeting, what we expect, with kind of an expectation perhaps that if we don't get all the ECS money, the town would be able to step in the event, especially now that we have had some indication there may be more money coming from the state of Connecticut. So I don't know, is that realistic? Is that a realistic conversation we could have?
Well, I really, don't know what will be decided at the state level. I mean, it's a good sign when the governor puts that funding into the budget, but it needs to go through the whole process. And we've just had such fluctuation in that particular grant. It's hard to budget aggressively there in that if we weren't, it's a lot of reimbursement. So if it didn't happen, it would be a risk for our budget.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'd have to talk to the town. Erica, because I know you kind of do some of this as part of your day-to-day life. Did you have anything to add to that?
Well, thank you for that. A couple of things that I would think of as well is that my understanding, Kathy, too, is that in regards to what the governor proposed today, that is also to sort of remove some of these tiered systems, or correct? That's one thing, which I wonder, so, again, like I said on Saturday, the more that we can get out there and testify in support of this as a resident of Connecticut, the better, right? Because I wonder if in those, if there's going to be, I could see there being some pushback from some districts around the elimination of certain tiers, right? But at the end of the day, that is meant to make this an equal process in the sense of funding for all districts in Connecticut. But again, you just never know. It just depends what the response and reactions are going to be across the board. The other thing too is my understanding is that it does have a lot of support from, like, say, CAPS and like various other entities that support educational services in Connecticut. So this is not just coming from, like, say, the governor's office. This is coming from across multiple advocacy organizations and initiatives across the state around this. So, but again, you just don't know with the temperature. It's so hard. And so to me, Bill, my question would be, how open would the town council be in the sense of, depending on if that amount is lowered once it goes through the appropriations process, right, through the legislature, what, the adjustments that we can make here.
Right, because again, we don't want to overbudget. We don't want to have our. Let's say we budget at 55%.
Yeah.
We do get 70%.
Yeah.
Then that's going to be a challenge
Yeah.
too, right? We don't want to over budget on that line item if we can. I guess any other questions, comments? This is obviously, we talked about this now for the last 2 weeks. It was in the news today. I mean, this is the biggest driver we've had for years, and I'm happy to see that it's finally getting the recognition in the media and across state government that it deserves, because it is the #1 driver, right? Okay, I guess that checks that question.
Yeah.
Got more? I know we got more.
Well, there was the question about teacher turnover, and we do answer that now in the Q&A on page 13. So we've just integrated what I explained on Saturday, or the steps that we take to ensure that we are zero-based budgeting in the teacher account, and how we actually underfund the account through a teacher turnover reduction. And so that's all explained in the, in that Q&A.
That was basically what we talked about on Saturday.
Yes, yes.
Angela, I know that was an area of question for you. Just wanted to give you an opportunity to follow up.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first I'm seeing it, so I
Fair
don't know
enough.
if I could digest it
Fair
that
enough.
quickly.
It's a long answer, so.
It wasn't until 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I mean, I'll read the response, obviously, and if I have any other questions. That is still like a question I have, just because of, always looking at the final financials from like the end of the fiscal and seeing that surplus. But let me read through it. If I have any other questions, I'll let you know. But yes, that is a question.
I remember, I thought your questions were really good on Saturday. But one of the questions I had was, there are accounts that are in deficit as well. Right?
I'm sorry, can you say that?
There are accounts that are in deficit as well.
Of course,
Right?
yeah.
So I think we should be cognizant of the fact that some accounts, obviously, the fluctuations in all accounts are such that some are going to be negative and some are going to be positive, right?
Of course, and I mean, that's usually like the response to when the salary line is above, that it's offset by like a subline.
Right.
Where I still am like reconciling for myself only is like zero-based budgeting, which again, you're saying this addresses, but I haven't read yet. Zero-based budgeting is usually starting at the bottom and then like building up. So if like the same bucket, like that bucket that we're talking about always had, like 2 years ago it had 1.2 million in surplus, last year it had 900,000. I think I don't have the financials in front of me, but I think we're on track to be similar this year. So for me, like if I'm thinking of a budget, like I would love to see like the subline higher than this year and that line lower, just so that I can understand like where everything is. Again, that's just my personal look at when I'm budgeting, but let me read through it, and if I have any follow-ups, I'll certainly ask.
And I'll just answer that by, right now, I don't know who will take leave next year, so I have to make the assumption that they'll be there, and I wouldn't want to be paying teachers' salaries out of a subline. So that's why it's done this way, because I really don't know who's going to be out next year, maternity leaves, different various things that happen within, a particular year.
I don't know if it would be helpful, but, so it is zero-based budgeting because what Kathy and her administrative staff are looking at is what are we staffed at and what does it cost to pay those salaries, benefits, all of that. So that is working up to, okay, we have no teachers, now what does staffing look like for 25, 26? Just because it's volatile or there could be fluctuation because we can't predict exactly who's going to take leave, get injured, ill. We build the subline based on, so it is still zero-based budgeting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not looking to, we can have differences of opinions on how it's done.
There's a definition for.
But if zero-based budgeting always gives one account significant more surplus, then the assumptions we're using for that particular line are obviously too conservative in one way or another.
But Kathy just explained the assumption is the staffing. That's what has to go in that line. And then you draw on the subline when you need it. And if there's excess in teacher salaries because we have teachers on leave, that builds the subline. So
Okay.
it does meet the criteria for zero-based budgeting. I just think that's not really your question. Your question is why don't we anticipate based more on historical rather than zero-based? Because then you're basing it on historical projections and not zero-based.
I think we probably we could agree to disagree on that. I'm not sure I agree with that assessment, but it's okay. I don't see it's not probably productive for me to repeat again, so
I
that's fine.
appreciate you both having an excellent conversation, a civil conversation, and I think you're right. We've already solved that response. We already got that response, so anything else?
No, that was
The
it.
only two questions we had? Okay. All right. Well, I know we've got some folks here that might want to come and say hello to us. They still need to come out here on a Monday night just for fun, so you want to call them up?
Yeah, so we'll have all of our principals come on up. And Wendy, our Director of Special Services, is also here, so maybe we need one more chair. So every year on our Monday regular meeting after the budget workshop, our principals come out, our Director of Special Services. They'll give you just a little summary of the things that they maybe want to highlight from the previous budget and this budget, because some great things came out of, well, I say 24, 25, which we're in. Some great things came out of the budget that you approved last year and the town approved. And then just talking about some highlights from this year, given the elementary perspective, upper elementary, middle, and high school, and then Wendy's here. You just heard from Wendy very recently, but if there's any follow-up questions, Wendy can answer those as well. So we'll start. Should we start with Carolyn?
I think so. I got the mic. So thank you so much for having us. We're so happy to be here to talk with you just a little bit about some of the requests in the budget for next year. And I just want to start on behalf of the colleagues that are here and also my administrator colleagues who are not here, and just thank you for the consistent and excellent effort that you put into this work every year. You allow us to do the great work that we're doing in schools, and I just appreciate all of you for your time and your careful consideration of the things we're sharing with you tonight. So thank you. Last year I was here actually to talk about a specialized program that I'm so fortunate to support in my building. And that was an additional half-time request for a special educator to support our students who have sort of a multiple exceptionalities profile. So these are students with significant, emerging skills in communication and mobility, who need a lot of care and support. And you were so generous last year in your consideration of that request, and we've been able to do remarkable things with that additional 0.5 FTE for those students who are just so deserving of really excellent inclusion with their general education peers. And so I just want to thank you for that. And tonight I want to talk in addition about the requested 1.0 FTE, faculty FTE for our Specialized Learning Center. So that's the second special program that we're so fortunate to support at West District. And I want you to be really proud of the work that's happening in our SLC classrooms across town. And so I thought about a few things to just share with you that you might not realize that are really worthy of celebration. And I want to make sure you know, because there's great, great work happening. So our students with autism, and that's the population that we're supporting through the Specialized Learning Centers, are general education students first. That means that they deserve and they need access to really rigorous and engaging instruction, just like their typically developing peers. And the programming that we provide through the SLCs is differentiated and specialized to a degree that really allows them access to as much of the general education curriculum as is possible. And I think that's a really important sort of foundation to the work that we're doing in those classrooms, and is something that is unique about inclusion programs in public school, and I think something that's really worthy of celebrating. The second thing is, and many of you know this, autism is a naturally occurring neurodevelopmental difference, right? And children have differences in social communication, in engagement with peers, and sometimes with their behavior. And often they need sort of very structured and discrete instruction to make progress. But they also need environments in which to practice the skills that they're developing. And that's something unique and really special that we can provide in public school, right? They need to practice alongside typically developing peers, and they need opportunities to generalize the skills that they're learning so that they can really lead the lives they're meant to lead, and lead lives of joy and purpose and meaning that are who they're meant to be. And I think that's a really important component of what we can provide in public school, the opportunity for really meaningful inclusion and practice of those skills. I think it's important that you know too that our students' plans are really customized and highly individualized, right? So the idea of specialized programming isn't like a place or a destination. It's responsive and thoughtful programming that really matches the needs of the student. And we have situations every year where students come in and are accessing support through our SLCs, and then transition to accessing support through resource, and increasing amounts of access to their general education classrooms, working alongside their peers. And that's a natural transition that happens, and that's something that we really celebrate. But it can come about because of early intervention, which is what we're providing in these specialized classrooms at the elementary level. And I think that's something really important for you to know, that that can happen because we intervene early and support our students when they need us most. And the last thing is just that I think sort of philosophically is important, is that early intervention and what we're able to provide at the elementary level certainly saves money when compared to programming down the line, like outplacement kinds of programming, but it also saves relationships and community and connection, and allows our students to be in their home schools or in their community schools and be part of their communities, and they derive so much benefit from that, from the opportunity to learn with people for whom they feel a sense of belonging, and that supports their academic growth and their personal growth, and I think is just something really, really special that we're able to provide in public school. So hopefully you feel a real tremendous sense of pride around the work that's happening. We definitely do, and I think this changes the lives and trajectories of these students' experience and is something really to celebrate. So, happy to answer any questions if and when they come up.
Sure, yeah, happy to. So I'd like Karen.
We're going up.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, K4, 5, 6. We're so thrilled to be here, and thank you so much. And I second what Carolyn said on behalf of the team. Thank you for all of the hard work. This team is so incredibly responsive to the needs of our students here in Farmington, and we're just so thrilled to work with people who really believe in the work that we do every day for kids. At Westwoods, we're very excited about a couple of things that have been happening and are going to be happening. We have an exciting roof project this summer, and big thank you to the community, to the board. That was a bonded project, I believe, Sam, from last year, that it was bonded. So our roof this summer will be taken care of at Westwoods. That coupled with some pre-K work, we're very excited that we're going to be welcoming 4 to 5 classes of pre-K with Excel. We have the space allocated already, though there is some work to be done to ensure that our littlest students will have bathrooms and toilets that fit their needs. Fifth and sixth grade bathroom size does not necessarily fit a pre-K size. So we're very excited about that work. We've been working closely with Dan and Sam, as well as Brian Zario in the planning stages for the pre-K. Westwoods is a beautiful building, and we're so excited to bring our littlest students into the building and maybe look at different ways to work with them with our 5th and 6th grade students as well. We also at Westwoods have one of the largest enrollments this year that we've had certainly since I've been here in 6 years, but also I believe I've heard that it's more than 10 years since we've had so many students. Our 5th grade group is particularly large, and so because of that, we did request additional FTE in grade 6 for a teacher position for next school year. That will allow us to maintain about a 24-to-1 ratio versus what could be a 25 to 25.5 to 1 ratio, which does not leave us quite enough wiggle room for the number of students that come in and have transferred in to Westwoods. We keep careful notation of how many students come in and come out of Westwoods each year, and we have quite an influx that we've noticed over the course of the past 8 or so months. So that is the reason for the request for the additional 6th grade teacher this year, so that we can maintain about a 24 to 24.2 to 1 ratio for our Westwood students for next year. That's how we would start the year. That's not necessarily how we'd end the year given the transfers in, but it does allow us the ability to have a little bit more flexibility. So again, thank you so much to the board for even thinking and considering that position. We have a lot of really exciting things happening at Westwoods, and I'm sure you have some questions, so we'll leave that for whenever you want to ask those. So thank you.
Great. Good evening, everybody. So I don't know if you know this or not, but a lot of times when we interview people and we give them an opportunity to ask us questions, they'll often say, well, what makes Farmington so special? Like, why would I want to come here? And our answers are often saying, we have the most supportive Board of Education. They stand behind us. They believe in the work that we're doing. We're a lighthouse district because they are our true partners in this work. And so, I'm here today on behalf of the entire team, and at IR in particular, I presented to you in December. We're really working on making sure that we have a robust curriculum that is preparing students for not only high school, but life beyond high school, whether that be college or career or military or something else. And kids grow up faster these days. And so what we teach at IAR, how we teach at IAR, has to look different. It has to be responsive to the needs of children. And so you will see in the budget that we are asking for your support for really a transformative curriculum that is embedded in innovation. And so we're continuing to develop our CREW, which is our advisory program. We'll be in our 3rd year of implementation, and that really is the place where we teach social and emotional skills, as well as empowerment skills that kids need to be critical consumers of information and to discern whether their actions are appropriate or not appropriate. And so we'll continue on that work. standing on the shoulders of the schools before us and continuing to develop student agency. We are asking for, curriculum writing around developing student agency, and so a lot of the lessons that are delivered during Crew are student-led. It's students teaching one another, learning from one another, students finding their voice and being empowered to make a difference in our school community. So I appreciate the support that you've always given to innovative curriculum and instruction, and we'll continue to do that through our Civic-Minded Contributor course, through the first year of Passages, where we really are certifying every child being able to demonstrate their mastery of the vision of the global citizen skills, both at the end of grade 7 and again at the end of grade 8, so that when they pass to the high school, they truly are prepared for the innovative curriculum that this building was designed for. And so I really feel like we're on the cusp of the next magical era for Farmington Public Schools. I've been here almost 30 years, do not calculate my age. But this is a true moment, and you have always supported the innovative work that we've done. You've always stood behind the creative curriculum, and I would implore you to continue to do so, because we have just excellent things that are helping our children realize that school should be a place of joy, it should be a place of celebration, and a place where every child feels a sense of belonging and empowerment. And so we're listening to them. We're listening to students say, this is what we're interested in, this is what we need, and we're trying to be responsive to their needs. And certainly there's no better time for us to raise wonderful, happy citizens. And that's what we're trying to do.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your diligent and thoughtful support of everything that we do. Also want to give a huge thank you to the Board of Ed, also Town Council, and our entire community for the support of this new high school. It's been an incredible 5+ months since we have moved into this building. And I have the pleasure of every day getting to see the amazing positive impact that this building has on our attendance, our discipline, teaching and learning, and the well-being of our faculty and staff. So thank you so much for all that support. Really excited about some of the curriculum projects that we have lined up for this summer and for next year. And whether that is in preparation for our NEASC accreditation visit that will happen next fall, or for solidifying our science pathways that we've been talking so much about, we're really excited to enhance the connection and alignment to our vision of the global citizen through that work, and create meaningful, deeper learning experiences for all of our students. As a side note, there is, excuse me, the NEASC accreditation visit does come with some financial impact on the budget as well. I'd also like to take a moment to share my appreciation for the district initiative to keep all of our students in district and our specialized programs. There is certainly an increase in student needs, and those needs are getting more and more complex. And Wendy and I actually presented on that a couple of weeks ago or last month on our partnership with CTBH. But we know that it is best for all students to be in our schools and learning while they're sitting next to their peers instead of in outplacements. So we will continue to work to keep all of our students in district through creative ideas like this partnership with CTBH. That's it on my end. Thank you.
I am so very thankful for this entire group. I can tell you, my joining Farmington, I did my homework too. And it is really a blessing and a dream for a director to be able to sit among building principals that have a deep understanding of special education, how to support very specialized programs, and for a board that also has a deep understanding of special education needs and is supportive of it. This team has lived up to every expectation that I hoped for, and I'm very thankful for that. So we will continue to build our specialized programs, enrich our programming. There's always something new to learn in special education, and it's always a fluid process of growing and getting better. That being said, along the continuum of services, there is always, unfortunately, a need for an out-of-district placement from time to time. It is never meant to be a forever placement, right? It's always a transitional period, and it's usually needed for a level of specialized programming that the district, for whatever reason, is unable to provide at the time. Certainly, we look to see how could we do that here to keep our students in district, or it might be an element of need for some reason of safety for a student for a point in time that they need to work through. So that's among the continuum of services. I think what's hopeful is not only that the state is looking at fully funding excess costs, but the other important recommendation that came out of the task force that I'm very hopeful for is that they look very deeply in really understanding tuition rates across the state and really making a aligned and unified formula for how tuitions are actually being calculated throughout the state. So, but thank you all.
All right, this time I'd like to open up the floor for any comments or questions from board colleagues.
I have a comment.
Absolutely.
I just want to say thank you for all your hard work and dedication to our students, and it's an honor to have you guys part of the team here in Farmington. I mean, Kathy would agree. Wow, like amazing team. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Anyone? Well, to be fair, you guys did such a good job with the book. We don't have a lot of questions. That is my lawyer. I'll say a couple of things. First of all, Russ, it's really great to see how you've taken on this role and grown into this position. It really, one of the cool things about being on this board for as long as I have been is get to watch people develop. And, as I think about where we're going now, we're going to be deciding tonight the committee that's going to select Kathy's replacement. I look at you, the five of you, and then I can think of the other people that we've hired, our director of curriculum that we just recently hired, and Veronica and Dan, and know that that Kathy's leaving this district in as strong a position as any superintendent in the state of Connecticut could ever do. And obviously the high school being kind of like the flagship is in such good hands, Russ. So I just it's really cool. I wanted to share that with you in an open meeting. I get a chance to do that again, and I certainly want to make sure I said that. And with you, Lisa, as well, watching you kind of come from up, here, and then taking on the challenge of IAR, which when you went in, let's be honest, it was a challenge, right? And there's a lot of great things going on. There's a lot of challenges that we're facing, but that, I think, is the hallmark of our building leadership, our district leadership team, is that when we're facing it, and these challenges change. The challenges that were around in 2013 and 2014 are not the challenges we have today. But we are a community of continuous improvement and learners. We learn from those challenges so we can apply those skills to solve the challenges that we're facing today. So, yeah, it's kind of, I'm a little more emotional than I thought I might have been. Yeah, to watch you all have grown into these roles, it's really, really cool. And thank you for all your hard work. Really appreciate it.
A testament to this team and the support that you give us, and we haven't gotten a chance to publicly say it as a district leadership team, but Kathy is the best boss that we could possibly work for along with you. She's been inspirational, guide, mentor, leader. I mean, bar none, the best. I mean, I've worked in a couple of districts, and she's the best leader I've ever worked with. So I think I speak on behalf of our team. She's just an incredible person, human, leader, instructional leader, everything. So, yeah.
Mentor, friend.
We're also emotional about it, Bill. We're also emotional about it.
And Wendy, welcome. This is your first year. You have come in, hit the ground running, and you feel like you've been here for forever. So thank you very much for all your hard work. I know you're working hard to not only help our kids with the most special challenge needs, but saving us a lot of money in the process. So thank you for that. Any other questions of the team? Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
All right, before we go on to consider a motion, this is an opportunity for us. Is there any other pages in the book you might want to go back to you have any questions or comments or thoughts about any specific page in the book, we can do that. I asked that question hoping you would have already had one in mind.
I just have a section, or I'm gonna have to just read
Sure.
the full response to one of the questions.
Sure, take a look.
And if anybody else has a question.
Okay, cool. All right. So this is the point of our calendar for the entire year where we get the ball rolling to start next year. At this point, I'd like to consider a motion, and I'd ask for a motion for the Farmington Board of Education to recommend to the Farmington, before I get started, I want to recognize Amy Palumbo and Patty Boy Williams. They're here. Thank you both for being here for the council tonight. Appreciate you taking the time out of your nights to be here. I know you guys got a lot of work ahead of you as well. So thank you for being here. I'd ask for a motion for the Farmington Board of Education to recommend to the Farmington Town Council a 2025-2026 budget of $83,240,983, or a 4.65% increase over the total 2024-2025 budget.
Motion? Second.
Discussion. Okay. Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Abstentions? Okay, that would be 7-1, Marty's not here. And I should have said this about Saturday. Marty had told me he wasn't going to be able to make this. He was out of town, he had a trip. So I knew he wasn't coming. I should have announced that earlier, and I apologize for not recognizing that. Okay, there you go. Next item is discussion of a possible action related to the appointment of a personnel search committee for purposes of a superintendent search. I'll just say, I thought this was going to be an executive session. I was wrong. We can do this here, which I'm happy about. I'd rather do it in public anyway. So, I mean, this is what we're going to be doing, and our plan would be that all 9 of us would be made members of the selection committee. That the selection committee will meet as we go through the process. I think the first thing that we would do is, I guess we have a motion for that, right? Or do we just declare it? I don't. Oh, there's a motion. You're all smart. Okay, so I guess before, I have some comments, further comments I'm going to add, but before I do that, I'll do that in the context of when we're in the committee, I guess, or whatever. But I ask for a motion that the Board of Education establish a personnel search committee for the purpose of recommending it to the Board of Ed a candidate for the position of superintendent of schools, and moved further that the following individuals be appointed to the committee. Farmington Board of Education members, Chair Bill Beckert, Vice Chair Secretary Andrea Sabinski, Sylvie Benet, Nadine Canto, Angela Cianci, Beth Kittner, Erica Nowakowski, James Ratcliffe, and Martin Skelly.
Motion? Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. So now we have a committee, an official committee that is going to look for Kathy's replacement. What I would like to do is ask the superintendent to put out an RFP to a search committee, for search firms. And that's a transparent way of doing this, as opposed to kind of just interviewing people from, behind closed doors, whatever. This is the right way to do it, I think, to be transparent about it. So I'd ask for an RFP to go out from the district. Obviously, I'll talk with Tom Moody to make sure it's in the right form. That'd be our first steps. And then, again, I don't want to set a timeline because we don't really know what the RFP is going to look like. But my hope would be that we would have to have a special meeting once the RFP is out. We have to prove the RFP. So we're going to have to have a meeting for that. And then once the RFP goes out, we'll kind of wait and see what they get, and then we'll go from there. I think I'll just go one step at a time. This is all new for all of us, and I'm going to be leaning on Tom Mooney, frankly, to make sure we do it right. It is my goal to make this process apolitical, to make it about who's the best person to serve our district once Kathy leaves us, and nothing more than that. And so, with that being said, I don't know if there's anything else. No? Okay. So yeah, so stay tuned on that. And I'll probably have some sort of communication that'll go to you guys as part of being in the selection committee that kind of lays it out a little bit more. Because I confess and I acknowledge this is not like a lot of information for you. And I know we're gonna have a lot of questions and I don't have all those answers, but I promise that I will endeavor to get them all for you in a timely way. Okay. All right. And that is also the report of the board chair. So with that being said, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned.